It is Friday. That means tonight, more high school football. And joining me to preview some of the bigger games of the weekend, some of the games you'll want to watch around the South Plains and West Texas, Stephen Orr with the West Texas Friday Night Scoreboard Show. Stephen, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Chad. I'm doing great, and what beautiful weather we're going to have. Maybe we finally gotten Mother Nature out of our football games, and it looks like we're going to have a beautiful night for football, and maybe actually the need for a few people to take a windbreaker or a light jacket is this fall is in the air for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like finally, like you said, it's the first few weekends, I guess the first half, right, of the football season has been affected by weather for a lot of teams.
Sure, we had a couple of weeks there where several games, especially once you get down on the low-rolling plains, were affected, and so it doesn't appear to be the case tonight. And we're getting into that time. It's what we call dead week. This is when normally on any given Friday night we'll do between 185, 190, and 205 games. This week that number drops back down to about 125 games because all of the six-man districts, or six-team districts, this is the open week. This is the halfway point of the season, and so a few less games, but there are some good games in the area and several Lubbock teams that are playing, and kick it off with, you've got both Coronado and Monterey playing, both undefeated. Monterey has the more favorable outing tonight, and it's kind of hard to believe when I say, if I tell you Monterey's playing Stephenville, normally you would think that was really going to be a tough game and probably a hard one for Monterey to win. Yet Stephenville, 4 games into their campaign, they've yet to find the win column. And they are giving up tons and tons and tons of points. Stephenville's allowed over 60 points in 2 games. They've allowed 55 in another game, and they're not doing that well. And I think Monterey has a really good chance of going ahead and advancing and improving their record to 5-0. Thing about Monterey is this is a trap game. If they feel too confident about what they're doing, if they're looking forward to that district campaign, that could be a bit of a problem for them, but I don't think that'll be the case. And I think that Monterey will improve their record to 5-0 on the year because they've beaten some good competition. Yeah. And this is just Stephenville is Stephenville, and there's some tradition there, but, man, they have really struggled. Now, the game that across town there with Coronado taking on Andrews, this is going to be a really interesting game as far the way I'm looking at it, because Andrews put up 77 points on Levelland a few weeks ago in that 77-76 win that was just apparently like a basketball game. The defensive coordinators apparently were on vacation or something. But that's going to be a really good game. Andrews has shown the ability to put points on the board, so Coronado's defense is going to have to step it up, and they're going to have to control the ball. And if they can continue to play good, solid football and avoid the errors, I think they're going to be in pretty good shape. But Andrews is a team that's put up 65 points against San Angelo Lakeview. Again, they had 77 points in a win over a very good Levelland team. But let's go back. They were only able to put 28 points up against Lubbock High. So Andrews may be a bit of a tale of what team shows up on the night, and so Coronado, a decent chance there, but that should be a pretty good football game. Let's look at Friendship taking on Midland. I think it's Midland Lee Midland High that they're playing. Friendship, I would say, to me, their season's gotten off to a little bit of a rocky start, but they've played some good football and they got a good win last week. So.
Is this one of those games that can kind of set you in the right direction?
I think this is one that can set the tone for the district, in district play. And Friendship now, actually playing in 6A. They got the win over Permian last week, which was a very nice win. Permian was undefeated coming into that game. And now they just want to continue that momentum because next week they've got Tascosa, and Tascosa's been playing really good football. So I think it's just important for Friendship to stay on track, build on the momentum they have, and I think if they will do that when we come to the end of the year, we're going to see them back in the playoffs where we feel like they should be. Another game that is kind of interesting as we drop down, Idalou taking on Denver City. That should be a really good ball game. That's two teams we're talking about at the end of the year every year. Denver City has been a little different. I would say this is maybe a rebuilding year a little bit for them. They've been stepped back a bit, but Idalou certainly is playing tough ball. But I think this could be a really good game as we go down. Abernathy takes on Lubbock Roosevelt. Roosevelt coming off a 42-40 overtime win over Floydada last week, and that had to give them some confidence. Abernathy has not been putting a ton of points up on the board. They did have a big week last week against Memphis, but I'll tell you what, the Roosevelt team can play some pretty tough defense, and that should be a really good ball game to watch as well. Then we've got Snyder hosting Perryton. Snyder played Levelland last week, and that was a 55-2 loss for Snyder. Snyder's only ability to score points was a blocked extra point by Levelland that they returned for 2 points. So Snyder needing to find an offensive rhythm, and the two previous weeks to that, they didn't get to play because of Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Both of their games were canceled. So, and a Perryton team that comes down from the Texas Panhandle, and they've been playing pretty good ball. I think that's going to be a really tough game for Snyder, but one to watch as well. Probably one of the best games in the area is going to be over at Levelland, which Levelland has been so impressive all year with Nick Gerber throwing for like 34 touchdowns so far on the season. It's just ridiculous how much success he's had. But he's going to play a Bushland team that really plays some good defense. Bushland, to start their season off this year, ended a 31-game winning streak by Canadian, which anytime you beat Canadian, I don't care what classification you are, that's an accomplishment, and that's a really good football team. And that probably is going to be one of the better games that we see this week. Also, Hereford comes to Plainview. The Whitefaces are struggling to find an offensive identity. Plainview has played some tough games, but they've been on the losing side. So this is another one of those games where a district contest where you want to start your district campaign off right, establish some momentum, and move forward in the season.
With Stephen Orr, West Texas Friday Night Scoreboard Show. Stephen, any other games that you want to highlight this week? And after that, give us that game or two of the week that people just have to go out to.
Well, I tell you what, like I said, we're kind of short, especially in the area. Most of the area teams do have the open week. I love the Coronado-Andrews game. I think that could be a really fun contest to watch. And my game, if I was going anywhere to watch any game, I would go watch the Levelland-Bushland game because I think that could be an electric game. And it's going to be just one more confirmation of where Levelland is. Are they as good as we think they are? And I do believe they are. But Bushland is a very good football team, and I think that's probably the best game in the area.
Well, two good games there on dead week, and things start picking back up next week, right?
That's right. We'll be in the full heat of district campaigns starting next week, and we'll take a look when we come on next Friday. We will kind of break down all of the district races around Lubbock and in the area and kind of where we think they're going at this point in the season.
Yeah, these Lubbock teams, it's going to be interesting to see where they fall into place.
You know, you've got Cooper, Monterey, Coronado. I can't recall the last time that Lubbock was really going to be that compelling as far as how that district and I believe all three of those teams are in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be an interesting, and boy, that goes to building and just nurturing those inner-city rivalries.
Yeah.
And you've got a really nice one right across town, even though it's not in classification, between Cooper and Friendship now. So there's a lot of good football being played in Lubbock. It's really fun this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen Orr, West Texas Friday Night Scoreboard Show. As always, Stephen, appreciate your time, and we'll talk next Friday.
Hey, thank you, Chad.
Have a good one. That's Stephen Orr, West Texas Friday Night Scoreboard Show. You can hear the West Texas Friday Night Scoreboard Show here on KFYO after the games tonight, 10 p.m. to midnight, by the way. And then if you're just driving around town and maybe you're out of town, you can listen online via the Radio Pup app. You can listen to the West Texas Friday Night Scoreboard Show on KFYO.